The Ottoman Empire controlled 3 continents and 600 years of history. 40 sultans ruled from one of the most powerful thrones ever built. They commanded armies that made European kings physically shake with fear. And then, in less than a century, every single bit of it was gone. Not slowly, not quietly, gone in a way that stunned the entire world. Guys, this story is not what they taught you in school. There are secrets buried inside this empire that historians barely whisper about. The real reasons this empire rose were almost too wild to believe. And the way it collapsed, trust me, it gets way darker from here. Because this wasn't just a civilization, this was the most powerful Muslim empire ever built. And what you are about to discover will flip everything you thought you knew. The untold truth about the Ottomans is stranger, bloodier, and more human than any textbook admits. We are going to go inside the palace, inside the wars, inside the betrayals. By the end of this video, you will see why this empire's fall changed the entire modern world.
If you want the hidden truths behind the greatest empires ever built, hit that subscribe button on History Lab right now, because what you are about to hear is the story no one tells you. History Lab goes where other channels are afraid to go. You won't believe this, but he actually started winning. Osman and his warriors were called the Ghazis, holy fighters who believed God was on their side. They had a fire that no salary could ever buy and no army could stop. That belief, that pure conviction, is what built the first bricks of this empire. By 1326, his son Orhan captured the city of Bursa. The empire had a capital. Then they crossed into Europe, into the Balkans, into the heart of the Christian world. And here is where it gets really disturbing, because the Ottomans had a weapon no one expected. These men had no family, no tribe, no loyalty except to the Sultan. They became killing machines, and they were completely unstoppable on the battlefield. The Janissaries were the secret engine of Ottoman expansion for over 300 years.
But wait, the biggest moment was still coming. 1453, Constantinople, the last great Christian city in the East. For over 1,000 years, no army had successfully stormed those massive walls. A 21-year-old sultan named Mehmed II stared at those walls and smiled. Wait, this next part shocked even historians who have studied it for decades. Mehmed had something nobody else had ever thought to use: cannons. Massive, earth-shaking cannons. He commissioned the biggest cannon ever built at that time. It took 60 oxen to move it. For 53 days he bombarded those walls, day and night, non-stop. On May 29, 1453, the walls finally broke. The soldiers poured in. The Byzantine Empire, which had survived for over 1,000 years, ended in a single morning. Mehmed walked into the Hagia Sophia, the greatest church in the world, and turned it into a mosque. He called himself the Conqueror. Honestly, the name was earned. That one moment changed the balance of world power forever. Europe went into full panic. Trade routes had to be rerouted. That is literally why Columbus sailed west. But the truth about the Ottoman Empire is far darker than this moment of glory. Because inside the palace, the Topkapi Palace in Istanbul, another war was always being fought. It was the war for the throne, and it was absolutely savage. Ottoman sultans had a policy called fratricide, brother murder. When a new sultan took power, he would have all of his brothers executed immediately. No exceptions, no mercy. Even newborn brothers were strangled in their cribs. This wasn't cruelty for cruelty's sake, it was policy. They called it the Law of the Sultans. Mehmed II actually wrote this practice into official Ottoman law, in writing. I'm telling you, the brutality inside that palace would make Hollywood movies look tame. Eventually they softened this, but replaced it with something arguably worse. They locked princes in a gilded prison called the kafes, the cage, for their entire lives. And here is where it gets really disturbing, because those locked up princes sometimes became sultans. Imagine spending 20 years alone, isolated, never allowed to rule or even speak to advisors. Then suddenly you were handed the most powerful throne in the world. Some of these men arrived on the throne mentally broken, paranoid, or simply unprepared. And the empire suffered every single time. But through all of this madness, the empire kept expanding. Suleiman the Magnificent took power in 1520, and honestly, this guy was something else. Under Suleiman, the Ottomans stretched from Hungary all the way to the Persian Gulf. He laid siege to Vienna in 1529. He almost took it. The whole history of Europe almost changed. His empire had over 15 million subjects. His navy controlled the entire Mediterranean. He was a poet, a lawmaker, and a conqueror, all at the same time. No one in the Western world today even knows his name. That's criminal. Wait, this next part is where the story starts to turn. Because after Suleiman died in 1566, the cracks began to show. The sultans who followed were weaker. The Janissaries grew more powerful than their masters. The Janissaries started making and breaking sultans at their own will.
They murdered sultans they didn't like. They demanded pay raises at gunpoint. These warriors, who had once been the empire's greatest strength, became its deadliest poison. Europe was changing too, and the Ottomans weren't keeping up. The scientific revolution, the age of exploration, industrialization, none of it was happening inside the empire. Trade routes shifted. The Atlantic became the center of world commerce. The Ottomans were being left behind. By the 1700s, the empire was losing wars it would have laughed at 2 centuries earlier. Russia became a massive threat. Austria kept pushing back in Europe. But the truth about the Ottoman fall is far darker than just military defeat. The empire was rotting from the inside. Corruption flooded every level of government. The office of Grand Vizier, the prime minister of the empire, was being sold to the highest bidder. Officials bought their positions and then stole as much as they could before being removed. The treasury was draining. The military was falling apart. The people were starving. They started calling the Ottoman Empire the sick man of Europe, right to its face. And then came the 19th century, and everything accelerated toward disaster. Nationalism exploded across the empire. Greeks revolted, Serbs revolted, Bulgarians revolted. European powers backed every single rebellion just to weaken the Ottomans further. By 1900, the empire had lost most of its European territories. And here is where it gets really disturbing, because the worst part was still ahead. World War I. The Ottomans made a fatally wrong bet and sided with Germany. They fought on multiple fronts simultaneously, and they were losing all of them. The Armenian genocide happened during this chaos, over 1 million lives destroyed in a deliberate campaign.
It remains one of the most devastating atrocities of the 20th century. By 1918, Germany was defeated, and the Ottomans collapsed right alongside them. European powers carved up Ottoman land like it was a buffet dinner. Britain took Iraq and Palestine. France took Syria and Lebanon. Every border drawn during that carve-up is still causing wars today. Think about that for a second. In 1922, a Turkish general named Mustafa Kemal abolished the Sultanate completely. 623 years of Ottoman rule ended with a single signature. The men who had once ruled 3 continents were exiled on a British warship. The last Sultan, Mehmed VI, left Istanbul in the dark, quietly, without ceremony. He never returned. No one came to say goodbye. That is how empires die. Not in battle, in silence. The Ottoman Empire at its height was a place of incredible tolerance, stunning art, and brilliant science. It was also a place of violence, internal betrayal, and the inevitable arrogance of power. Its fall did not just end a government, it shattered an entire world. The Middle East we live with today, every conflict, every border, every tension, traces back to that collapse. This is why history matters, because the past isn't over, it's happening right now. And if you want to keep uncovering these hidden truths, the stories that explain the world we are all living in, then subscribe to History Lab right now. Hit that notification bell so you never miss what's coming next. And drop a comment below. Tell me which empire you want us to investigate next. Because at History Lab, we do not just tell you what happened, we show you why it still matters.